Welcome to the Conscious Conception Show with me, Sue Ritchie. This show will take you from confusion to clarity, confidence and emotional healing to a joyful pregnancy. This is the place where we uncover the real truth about fertility and why preparing for conception, mind, body and soul, is more important than ever. With honest, empowering conversations, we'll explore the hidden factors impacting fertility and how a holistic approach can help you take back control of your journey. Whether you're trying naturally, navigating IVF, or just starting out, know this: you're not alone, you're not broken, and you're already on your way. So let's walk this path together. Big welcome to everybody who's joining us on the Conscious Conception Show. I'm Sue Ritchie, a holistic health and fertility specialist, and I'm so delighted that you're joining me today because I feel today's conversation is really going to be rather enlightening and also very valuable in helping you to increase your chances of conceiving. And you know, we're covering some aspects today of fertility that you might not have considered that could be actually having an impact on your ability to conceive. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be joined today by the lovely Karen Bashford, who is an empowerment mentor and soul growth therapist. And this episode is all about awakening the mother within. And we're going to be exploring what inner child work really means, and how our early experiences can impact how safe we feel to receive. You know, our bodies need to feel safe to conceive. And why offering compassion to, our younger self can really shift, our fertility journey. And also we're looking at why taking time to, really get quiet and, listen to your intuition. It can be such a valuable way to really get access to that amazing inner wisdom that we all have. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I was so pleased when you accepted my invitation to join me on the show, because I resonate so much with your mission and the work that you're doing. And I think it's one that's so important for women to really align with who they are and step into the power of themselves as well. And I know it's took me far too many years to realize that I wasn't living my life in true alignment with who I was. And in fact it took a big health wake-up call quite a few years ago now to actually realize that I wasn't really living my life in true alignment. And it's made such a difference to have that realization, if you like, and to make some changes. So Karen Bashford is an intuitive mentor, podcast host, speaker, and she's the creator of the Sloth or Beaver personal and group coaching, as well as having a toolkit and toolbook. And Karen's personal journey, took her through emotional neglect, abusive relationships, self-sabotage, serious illness, and a nervous breakdown in 2023. And that led her to doing months of deep inner work. And it enabled her to redefine just her whole life and purpose, and brought her to really help women to break patterns of behavior and really to change their beliefs so that they can start to live their lives more confidently. So Karen, thank you so much for joining me. Could you start by actually just sort of sharing a bit about what led you to sort of start coming into doing this work with women?
Oh, that's a big long story, but I'll keep it short. Basically, at 50, I discovered that my parents had never actually told me they loved me or hugged me, despite the fact I hugged friends and I told them I loved them. It had never registered with me that they'd never told me that they loved me. And it was like, okay, so why is this? So I started investigating my family and realized quite how much they were just repeating what they had experienced themselves. That was the first wake-up call. The second one was when I realized that my own family were cause of me self-sabotaging my life because I just didn't believe I was good enough. It didn't matter what I did, I just was not good enough. I was always the one in the wrong, despite being the one that was constantly looking after my mother emotionally and on a weekly basis going to see her. I was always in the wrong. So that was another wake up call, and that finally led to my nervous breakdown, which in 2023 was a case of just stopping, spending 3 months just crying,
Oh,
and then another 3 months sitting there just saying, well, why did I keep doing this? What was the cause of this? Where did this come from? And I just allowed myself to totally surrender and just let myself explore who I really was. And that led to what I do now, working with women who have similar experiences to me, and also with creating Sloth or Beaver coaching toolkit to enable those that can't necessarily afford coaching or any kind of counselling or such like to ask themselves the same questions I had to ask as I was going through my nervous breakdown, which resulted in me being a totally different person to what I was before.
oh wow, that's an amazing journey that you've been on, and and I I salute you for your courage to really go that deep with yourself, because I think, sometimes we do have to actually do that
Mm.
process. So many women, if you like, when we're talking about fertility, people tend to focus very much on the physical side of things. So, from your perspective, what does it mean to, we've called this episode Awakening the Mother Within. So, what does it mean to you to awaken the mother within? And why do you think this is so important, work that should be done, before conception?
Well, for me, waking the mother within is literally learning to love yourself. That was the one thing that I'd realized I'd never done my whole life was actually say, Karen, I love you. And it's phenomenal when you realize you matter far more than anyone else. And that is why I'm adamant when you are doing any kind of healing, you have to get to know yourself and learn to love yourself. Love is something that we seek from our family. Quite often, as I discovered, you don't necessarily get it either at all or in the way that makes you feel loved. So, learning to know yourself and love yourself is something that your body will recognize as being free of all the energies. And we are energetic beings, so we hold energy from our life experiences. In learning to love yourself, you become free of that stuck energy. And when your body is free of that energy, it's phenomenal what it's capable of doing. And that's why I would advocate anyone looking to conceive to actually explore who they really are and release all those painful memories that you hold on to. Even if you're not aware of them, you can always ask your body to tell you because your body will tell you.
I agree. I think the whole thing around self-love, and I think particularly for women, but it applies to everybody. It's a thing that a lot of people struggle with, if you like, to really love themselves. But for me as well, as I feel that when you're looking to bring a child into this world, that when you love yourself, then that actually gets passed on to your
Mm.
child that comes into the world. And who wouldn't want to ensure that their child has self-love, if you like, before they've even really started in life, because their life path is going to be so different as a result of that. And I know that I remember reading a lady's story about her 3-year-old daughter suddenly one day coming out and saying to her, "Mummy, why do you say such bad things about yourself all of the time?" And I think, that it was like that was a big wake up call for
Mm.
her, that she really needed to focus on coming to really have self-love.
Mm.
And she realized that, that would then have an impact on her daughter as well, which is, it's children are very wise, even from a very young age.
They're considerably wiser than we ever give them credit for at times, I must admit.
Absolutely, I agree. So intuition, is something that we all have, and I think it's there, if you like, to help us as a powerful guide through our lives. So, but I think so often we just don't tend to either recognize it or realize it, or we overrule it, if you like. So, how can women learn to tap into their intuition, especially when, they might be feeling overwhelmed and anxious or disconnected, which is quite common, particularly when, people are on a rather difficult fertility journey?
Okay, well, you have to remember that your intuition never yells at you, for a start off. One of the things I realized as I was going through my journey was the fact that if I judged myself, it would always be loud. Intuition is very, very quiet. It has a tendency to just slip in when you least expect it. Obviously, we've all had those moments when perhaps we've been driving and we've heard something like "stop" very loudly. That is your intuition trying to warn you. But the quietness of the intuition is that it will give you subtle messages as to perhaps you need to slow down. And that is the one thing most of us will not do, is slow down. I
Too
have
true, too
discovered the
true.
art of slowing down. And it's amazing. When you slow down, you get so much more done. But it's not only getting more done, you are more at peace with yourself. You're not frantically trying to get things completed or get into the next success story or even just trying to live when you slow down. So for me, the biggest thing any woman can do is finally acknowledge that everything she does is not necessarily what she needs to do. That's a
Yes,
big one.
very big one, definitely.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think yeah, I agree. I think that, today we're just so many people are just so caught up in the whole busyness of life, if you like. And I think it's the detriment of everybody. And,
Mm.
we really need to slow down, take that quiet time to just sit and connect to ourselves. And as you say, intuition sometimes is sort of fairly loud, but generally speaking, it's such a quiet whisper that
Mm.
we can so easily just ignore it and go
We
straight to our
do.
head. And I
Mm.
know that, and I've experienced that, and even now, even though I'm aware of my intuition, it's still the head will still sometimes step in and overrule. Which isn't helpful, because then you realize that, oh, actually I should have listened to the first thing that was there, if you like, and everything would have worked out a lot better.
Yes, well, that's with intuition, isn't it? It's always the first thing that comes to mind, never the one where you've had time to think about something. It's always the first thing. So yes,
Yeah, and very easy. It comes in quick and very easily can be missed.
yes, yes.
So you often, Karen, you often talk about, you've already mentioned it as well, is like listening to the body,
Mhm.
and, as a sort of form of soul communication. So what are some of the sort of subtle signs, messages that, women might miss that, can really guide them to, coming to a place of more deeper healing and alignment?
Well, for me, the best way of listening to your body is to actually ask it questions. And when you ask questions, you will sense something within your body's response to you. Quite often, if you're asking something about, say, you're fearful about becoming pregnant, because that's obviously going to be a massive, massive change. If you ask yourself, well, how am I feeling about this? Your body will actually give you some kind of signal. You might catch your breath. You might find your heart contracts or expands. It could be that you get a funny sensation in your stomach, or you could find your shoulders go, oh, I can't do this, kind of thing. There are always very, very subtle signs. And for me, the best thing you can do is to always ask yourself questions. A, because your intuition will potentially answer it for you if you keep your mind quiet. So I would recommend asking the questions just before you go to bed, but don't expect to receive an answer or give yourself an answer. Just ask the questions and see what happens. You could get the answer in the morning. You could wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh, why am I thinking about this? It could be the answer you're looking for. But as I say, if you want to ask yourself your body's response, you simply need to sit quietly, think of the questions you want to ask, and then feel into your body. That is literally, how is my arm feeling? What are my hands doing? What's my eyes doing? Where are my eyes going? Because your eyes are sometimes a clear indicator of what you're really thinking. Oh, yeah, okay, kind of thing, and things like that. Your body is a machine that's more than capable of communicating, but you have to listen.
Yeah, and it's important that we have to get quiet enough to listen and to be able to notice those things. And I think it also, as you say as well, it so often is you're not going to get the answer straight away, but it could be you're just middle of doing something the next day and suddenly bing, this little
Yeah.
thing pops in your head and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, that's the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, but illness or any kind of pain is often an indicator there is something wrong.
Yeah.
Because
But even with, sorry, go on.
sorry, yeah, go on, no, go on.
But even with that, when we tend to ignore some of those signs as well, because a lot of things, if they're just little niggly things, we tend to assume that everybody's got these. It's not really a big problem, but more often than not, some of those early signs are actually a key thing that things are not actually right in your body.
Well, most people do not realize that every organ in your body is connected to an emotion you have. So if your knee is hurting, it could be that it's connected to the fact you're feeling frustrated because you're not moving forward. Or your knee could be that there's something happened within your family that could be impacting how you're going to conceive. Because I have worked with a lady who was using IVF because she couldn't conceive naturally. And she came to me simply because she said, it doesn't matter how much work we do, I just don't seem to be able to conceive. So we did a session and I discovered that within her womb, she was holding on to a previous life's unfortunate miscarriage.
Mm.
And that energy from that child was still within her womb. Unless you're willing to ask yourself the kind of questions that say, well, is there anything stopping me from conceiving, and allowing your body to tell you, you're never going to know whether there is a blockage within your womb that isn't actually physical, but emotional or even psychological.
Yeah, I think that's quite an important point about miscarriages, because I certainly believe and know that, as you say, souls, if you like, from previous miscarriages and stuff, they can want to stay, if you
Yeah,
like, with their mummy and
yeah,
don't want to let go. So it is a process of healing that, if you like, and getting
yes,
them to let go.
yes.
So we're talking sort of spiritual stuff now. Um, so I suppose, and also like spiritual connection can mean, different things to different people. So I suppose the question to ask you is, how can women build a deeper connection with, their soul and the soul of their baby as well, because we've been sort of mentioning that, that the soul of the baby that they want to bring into the world.
Well, you can always connect with your soul by sitting quietly, taking a couple of deep breaths in, acknowledging any thoughts and feelings, and then taking your breath to your heart. Within your heart is this beautiful child, whatever age, it doesn't matter, but it's going to be your soul. And unlike a lot of psychologists, I see the inner child as your soul, the one that's been on your journey with you and knows what you're capable of, what you've done previously, and therefore can guide you to actually achieve the end result of conceiving. So basically, just sit quietly and just speak to your inner child. That inner child, as I say, can be any age. It can have a name, it might not. It's entirely up to you. But when you sit quietly and speak to your inner child, that inner child might actually be playful. It might be hiding. It might want to actually hear from you that you love it, and you hear from it that you love it. But it's not something that we do very often, to sit quietly and just communicate basically with our heart, which is where our soul lives. Without our heart, we have no soul.
Yeah, I think the connecting with inner child is just such a powerful thing, and I think it's like recognizing, if you like, that part of you is a huge thing. And you've been on that journey together. You've been through some painful things together. You've been through some good, loving things together as well. But actually, I think also, like, forgiving a child, forgiving that inner child can be a powerful thing as well. If you feel that, you've done something's wrong or whatever, because that actually can release some energy, if you like, that really helps, to me, really helps with, being able to then to conceive.
Yes, because if you actually are holding anything that makes you angry, frustrated, upset, or feeling hurt, your energy is going to be low vibrational. So you need to raise that energy, forgiving yourself, forgiving the inner child, forgiving the people that have actually hurt you. And yes, it's not about condoning their behavior, it's simply releasing their energy from your body that matters, not that what they've done to you or why they've done it, but more a case of, well, why are you still carrying this energy around with you? This is not your energy, so why are you carrying it?
Yeah, I think that the whole thing is is that we are about energy and that releasing, and I think that the whole process of forgiveness is a hugely freeing, if you like, thing to go through. And I think even if you can't forgive fully, even if you sort of go through a process of some partial forgiving, that's going to free up energy as well, and bringing the energy in your body into more alignment.
Mm, absolutely. And the child will not appear unless your body is ready to receive. And that's won't happen if you're holding on to a lot of anger, if you're feeling really hurt, because why would a child want to arrive into an environment where there's anger and hurt still? It wants to know it's going to be loved. And it can't do that if you're not loving yourself because you're still angry about something that happened to you. Anger serves to an extent, but it will harm you if you hold on to it for too long.
Absolutely. So, we're coming actually to the end, unfortunately, very quickly how the time goes, but you know, we're sort of coming to the end. So, for someone who feels stuck and disconnected right now, whether sort of emotionally, spiritually, or even physically, what is one gentle first step that they should take today?
Breathe and connect with your little child.
Lovely. I love that. So, Karen, please can you share how those that are listening to the show today can connect with you? And I believe you have a free gift that you have to offer as well. So
Yes.
perhaps you could share how our listeners can get that as well.
Okay, well, you can contact me at karenbashford.com. There is a form that you can fill in if you want to have a conversation with me. There's also, if you go to the resources page, which is linked at the bottom of the site, there is access to the inner child meditation, which takes you to meet your inner child and to have that conversation with your inner child. So
Wow,
they're more than welcome to, download that.
that's lovely. That's a really lovely gift, and I think people will benefit hugely from that. So really just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me, Karen, today. It's been a huge pleasure, and and I know that been exploring this sort of totally different aspect of fertility that perhaps people haven't considered, but I know, as I'm sure you do, that it's going to certainly help many people who are, many women and couples who are on this fertility journey. I wish we had more time to go deeper. So for all those listening, thank you so much for joining me today and for joining me with Karen as well. If the episode has resonated with you, please share it with someone else who you feel might need to hear it. And if you're ready to take a conscious, holistic approach to your fertility journey, I'd love to, be part of that journey with you. So we're not just talking about conception, really. We're talking about creating healthy, happy couples who are supported, informed, and empowered to become healthy, happy parents. Because to me, when you nurture yourselves, in a mind, body, and spirit way, you create the best environment for your baby to thrive in. And I truly believe that when you create that environment, it's the best gift that you can give to your future child. So thank you very much for joining me, and do listen to the next episode that will be coming up next month. And stay courageous, stay hopeful, and please take really good care of yourself, because you are truly worth it. Thank you for listening to the Conscious Conception Show with me, Sue Ritchie. To stay informed and inspired, be sure to tune in every third Tuesday of the month at 7:30 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and sign up for my newsletter for helpful tips on boosting fertility and preparing for positive, empowered parenthood. If you're ready for more support, connect with me on social media on Instagram and LinkedIn and at Optimum Fertility, or visit my website at sue-ritchie.com.